A very warm welcome everyone, my name is Nick from Channel njenkin. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be having a look at Amiga games reviewed on the channel, 201 to 250. If you like what you see and you haven't already, then please consider subscribing to the channel, because that helps take it to mega superstardom, perhaps, maybe. So here we go then. And we start off with Total Football. There's a few football games in this 50. This is a rather, well, it's not as good as Kickoff 2 or Sensible Soccer or anything like that. It's a rather bleak view. It plays okay, I suppose, but you don't see much of the screen at any single time, which limits gameplay a little bit. This here is a mighty Argentina versus UAE, I think, and we all know UAE are rather good. It's an okay game, but it's not ultra super brilliant, but okay for a few minutes, I suppose. This is Les Dennis Hangman. It's a public domain game and it's rather weird. Essentially, it's Hangman with the family fortunes and airs on. I don't think Les Dennis knew much about this game. As I say, it is pretty mental. Les Dennis' face doesn't feature in this at all. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, that's up to you. A certain amount of words in this to guess. You get it to the computer, and quite often you get hung but not drawn or quartered. It's a weird one. MERCS from the arcades. It's a bit like Commando but not quite as good. The character is a bit bigger, the music is good, the levels play quite fast. It's a little bit, you know, I say fast, it's a little bit ponderous really. But if you like MERCS on other systems, you probably like it on the Amiga. It's one or two players, it plays quite well in either. I just prefer Commando because that's the first game I ever played, but this one isn't bad either. Lots of upgrades here and lots of detailed stages to complete. Super PACMAN 92, not licensed by Namco, and it's another public domain game. The controls on this are very, very slippery. It's not really a very good Pac-Man clone, I would say, because the controls let it down quite severely. The ghosts don't have any names at all, and the maze, once you completed it, it doesn't change colour. You just go to the same maze again. There's some interesting speech on this, pulled from other things, but not really Pac-Man-esque. If you wanted Pac-Man on the cheap as a budget licence, then this would be okay. Cool spot. Now this is the logo of the 7-Up company, or is it Sprite? Well, anyway, it's one of those two that provide lemonade. Rather unique, this game. Is a platform jumper of different stages. You start on the beach. As soon as you die, well, then that's the end. Like most games, really. I don't know why I told you that. It's okay, I suppose, but it's not really my go-to game. There are other better examples like Zool and Zool 2 and Super Frog, which you've already covered. Cool spot. Brutal Sports Series Football tried to be Speedball 2 or rival to it, but come out quite a few years afterwards. This is a horizontal scroller rather than the vertical that is Speedball 2, and a lot of the sounds are pulled from that. There's different leagues to play, weapons to collect, but you must score points and maim all your opponents. You can decapitate them as well. So it's all good, clean fun. Brutal Sports Series Football. Listen to those Speedball 2 sounds there, I'm sure you can hear them. The Cycles, this is by Accolade, and I love Test Drive 2, and this is a similar sort of thing. You might recognise some of the sounds from Test Drive 2 or similar, but it's not a bad one. It controls quite well. One of the few biking games that you don't have to control on the mouse. It's joystick and it's quite solid. I'm quite a fan of this one, although I didn't play it a lot back in the day. There's a few bikers out there, and I think we might hit a few of them in this 50 review, so keep your eyes out, please. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. There is sound on this, for some reason it isn't playing now, but this is a rather lackluster game. The levels aren't very exciting. Here's Arnie against the T-1000. Cool, aren't you excited? Other stages, at the end you must fight the T-1000 again, but push him into that lava thing in the oil refinery. Avoid this one if you can. I love Terminator 2 the film, but Terminator 2 Judgment Day the game is pretty hopeless. You might disagree. CARDIAXX, another hopeless game. It's a 2D shooter by Team 17, which is a shame. What lets this down? The music is brilliant, but the gameplay is absolutely terrible, and many people would have given up just trying to get past this first bit. It doesn't get too much better, but the ship just moves too fast. It's too delicate by half. There's lots and lots of horizontal shooters on the Commodore Amiga. Best to go with a Pidgeot, Project X, Disposable Hero, any of those. Silkworm as well. WizKid, a rather weird game that I only played because of a review. There's generally more music playing than this, but you control this severed head thing and must hit certain objects like that and get them to fall on all the other butterflies and other monsters going across for bonus points. Yeah, I still to this day don't know what's going on. It's a wacky game, and you look at it and you think, how the hell did this one get commissioned in the first place? A lot of people consider this to be a classic. I'm still not sure myself. It's weird. EMLYN Hughes International Soccer, a horizontal scroller, licensed by the Liverpool player EMLYN Hughes, sadly no longer with us. It plays sort of okay. I couldn't really get used to controls. If you've got England play Holland, I don't know who's going to win this, probably neither. The crowd sounds are okay, they move in ever so slightly, but doesn't compare with Kickoff 2, Sensible Soccer and Player Manager and the like. I'm going to start sounding like a broken record on these, I'm sure. Talking about EMLYN Hughes, he didn't just stop there. Here's an arcade quiz. By answering questions right, you go across this grid. It scrolls across, and if your counter is not sufficiently far across, like if you get hit to go off the screen, you die. Not literally, of course. There's EMLYN there complaining that I got a question wrong. But he's quite a happy chappy. If you're good at general knowledge, you'll probably be good at this. Am I good at general knowledge? Look, I got one right there, so I must be clever. Pac-Land, the weakest of all the Pac-Man games based on the arcade cabinet. This one scrolls along, the ZX Spectrum version didn't, so it has it over there. But I'm not impressed with this. I like to see Pac-Man in an actual maze. This time he's gone to be a platformer game. The music is okay, but what the hell's going on here? You can collect power pills in this. It's all about jumping over stuff. It moves lethargically slow. It looks like it's been drawn by a 2-year-old. And yeah, LED Storm, not as good as Spy Hunter, but it's got fantastic music and it moves very, very fast. No doubt if you put in the practice you will get good at this game. You must complete different stages before the time runs out. If your car dies, your support vehicle or plane or whatever it is, here it comes, puts you back on the track. If you like guitar, you'll like this. Groove, Warp Factor 12, Baby, etc. I want Spy Hunter, but I prefer Major Motion. Here's another biking game, RVF Honda. The best thing about this game is the engine sounds. Listen to that. Awesome stuff. I don't like that you see the bike and the cockpit as well. I generally don't like the combination used together. But RVF Honda plays well. I'd say I prefer the cycles, to be honest with you, but this is okay as well. Two good races, not as good as Super Hang-On though. That was the original and from my mind the best, but there's much debate there. Another Terminator 2 game, better than the last one. This is T2, the arcade game. Plays a bit like, well, it's a first-person shooter really, isn't it? It plays a bit like Operation Wolf, if you're familiar with the arcades, but this time you have to hit Terminators over different stages. Here's our men here. We must defend them and also get extra weapons by opening these boxes across. So move the crosshairs, kill the Terminators, get to the next stage, rescue humanity, and definitely do not die at all costs. Remember that. Badlands, a really cool top-down racing game in the mode of Super Sprint, but I think this one is a bit better. Those cars have got stuck. I'm the orange car. There's lots of different tracks here. They're well detailed, and yeah, a lot to like on this one. Could get rather addicted. You have to collect spanners for upgrades of your car. Gradually gets more and more difficult, as you would expect. I prefer this to Ivan Stewart Super Off-Road, but there we go, it's a close thing. One of the better top-down racing games. Micro Machines, I wanted a bit more from this, to be honest with you. The controls felt a bit slippery to me, but a lot of people love this game and it can be considered a classic. Different modes like competition like we're doing here, one-on-one, or different leagues to play. It's all based on those Micro Machine toys, of course, and there's different venues like breakfast table and others too. I think you can do boats, so it's not just cars, there's boats as well, and there might be planes also. Not bad, not the greatest. Time Scanner, it's a pinball game, and all pinball games must be compared to Pinball Fantasies and Pinball Dreams. It's not as good as those, but what it does okay. You've got multiple tables on this one, all connected to each other based on different time frames, hence the name Time Scanner. This one has a rather cool erupting volcano if you can get it to work. There's Egyptian levels as well. Well worth persevering. It's okay if you can't get Pinball Dreams, as I mentioned. Time Scanner. Navy SEALs, quite a tricky platformer, as a lot of them were. You've got a number of lives. Each time you die, you turn into a slightly different person, but you must go up different ladders, avoid these Arab guys, and defuse all the bombs on the level. As soon as you have done, you get to the next level. Quite a lot of movement in this. You can climb up ropes and chains, hang below levels, but essentially you can see what to do, can't you? Explore, kill all the enemy, defuse all the bombs. You're an American Navy SEAL, if you haven't worked that out already. Manchester United Europe, another football game. I think the weakest of the ones we've looked at so far. Again, it's okay, but not quite as fun as EMLYN HUGHES. It moves a little bit slower. The referee can sometimes be a bit yellow card happy on this one. I wanted a bit extra action, but you know, if you're into football, it's sort of okay. But yeah, gets into the category of in the middle zone. Mid-league table, but no qualifiers. Combo Racer, this is an interesting game. You remember combo cars where guys leaning over the side to prevent the car from flipping over? Well, this is it. The road is a bit narrow, but what's great about this, it moves at an alarming speed. It's almost, well, probably as quick as Lotus 2. That tunnel's similar to Lotus 2 as well. Maybe that was of influence. It is made by the same people. Gremlin. Combo Racer, not to get confused with a combo oven, of course, but lots of fun to be had on this one. Wouldn't make my top 10, I don't think, or has it? Prime Mover, another great racing game. Feels a little bit slippery, but the sounds on this are brilliant. And in the championship mode, before each race, you get to hear the national anthem, which is a nice touch. The view's a little bit low down on this one, but I can forgive that. Another one where you're chasing it, and you've got the cockpit as well. I prefer this one to RVF Honda. It's a quality game. A lot of people haven't heard of this, but if you can track it down, then do so. Prime Mover is a great game, in my opinion. Stun Runner, now this isn't a great game. Based on the arcade cabinet, every version I've looked at is terrible. I'm told the version on the Atari Lynx isn't too bad. The problem is the Amiga's trying to do a lot here and it just moves so slow. If it can move quite a bit quicker, it might have been a good game if it was of the speed of Stunt Car Racer or any of those other polygon ones, but for some reason this just never livens up. You go through a series of tunnels through different levels. You must avoid cars in the way or blow them up. And there's different sort of environments. Pinball Magic, based on a 50s pinball table. It's a bit of a weird thing to do for the Commodore Amiga. The ball physics are okay, I suppose, but I think Time Scanner's better. And it would work good as a free game, but not a game that you paid for. It's good in a way, but a way that's not as good as Pinball Dreams, which all pinball games must be compared, at least on the Commodore Amiga. Alright for a few minutes play, but not one to go back to repeatedly, and it's a bit repetitive. Mike Reed's Pop Quiz, based on the Question of Sport engine. Instead of David Coleman, you've got Mike Reed asking you questions, and they're pop questions. It's you against the computer, and your team of another two people who are barely recognisable. I don't know who they are. I think they're just copied from Question of Sport as well. But if you're into quizzes, you'll get good fun out of this until you've remembered all the answers, and then you'll thrash the other team every time. But there's quite a few questions packed into this different question banks. All right for a quiz game. Star Wars, based on Star Wars, over different levels. It's not bad, this game. You must shoot TIE fighters first of all to get to the Death Star, then there's the Death Star trench, and then you must blow it up, essentially. Yeah, it's a good game. It's based on the arcade cabinet, arcade coin-up, but you can lose lives quite quickly if you haven't got a cheat mode activated. But it's Star Wars, isn't it? Good speech on this, Luke Skywalker and Han Solo at different points. Would have been great at the time in the 80s, and following that was The Empire Strikes Back, which is a similar polygon sort of idea. This time you was fighting these Imperial probe droids, then AT-ATs, and then a asteroid storm that the Millennium Falcon went through in the film. Both of these hold up really well. I really enjoyed them. Played on the Spectrum as well, but the sounds on the Amiga version, as you expect, are quite a bit better. If you haven't played these, track them down. There's nothing quite like these. They are pretty good. Good stuff. World Golf. Yeah, this game was pretty awful. Yeah, I'm running out of things to say about it already. Much better golf games out there, like every single one ever, apart from one we might be looking at later, which we'll come to. If you're into golf, you might get a bit of fun out of this, but it plays pretty poorly. You've got a selection of clubs. The power gauge is a nice idea, I suppose. That's quite easy to control. Here we have it on 2 players. Look at your ball eye. There's about 18 different courses each time. Wings of Death. It's a vertical shoot 'em up, and it's very, very difficult. The speech is a bit weird. It sounds like they got someone in at the last moment that was the caretaker to say things like extra lives, power up, stuff like that. But it plays quite good, devilishly difficult. An interesting firing system. You can upgrade your craft, which is basically this dragon thing, hence Wings of Death. Would have got a lot of play out of this if you persevered with it. We'll look at the sequel as well. Dan Dare 3 The Escape. The first 2 Dan Dare games didn't come out on the Commodore Amiga, and we just got to this. Now this is one of those rare occasions where I prefer the Spectrum version to the Commodore Amiga version, because this one comes second. They're trying to do a bit extra to it, but I think the fun's sort of like lost. Based on Dan Dare from the Eagle comics, featuring the MECOM, which we'll see in a minute through this hole, I think. But it's a shooter, and there's teleport gates as well. But just kill everything, get enough money to escape the planet. There is the MECOM. Lethal XCESS, the sequel to Wings of What's the Name that we reviewed a little while ago. And it's essentially the same thing, but instead of insects and dragons, you've got a proper spaceship now. I think this one's set something like 3,000 years afterwards, and you can see that the game is advanced. No, it hasn't. It's just a different skin on the same engine. So if you like the Wings of Death, you'll like Lethal XCESS as well. 2 pretty hardcore names. Good music in both of those games. A lot to like, but there are better ones out there. Live and Let Die, based on the James Bond movies. You control this boat, and only this boat, through this never-ending canal system. You must avoid all targets and opening and closing gates when they turn up, and other enemy boats that shoot at you. It's alright first of all, this game, until you realise it goes on practically forever. Not many people would have completed this, but it's fun while it lasts, but it's too long. Stages needed to be shorter to make you feel like you was getting somewhere, but it goes on and on and on. Mega Typhoon, a fantastic shooter on the Commodore Amiga. Apologies for the lack of sound coming from this, but it has got great sound. One of the best games for power-ups, I would say, as shooters. You're going to get a lot of fun out of this one. I believe I played it with a cheat mode on, so I could show you all the different weapons and power-ups. If you're new to the Amiga or had it a while and you haven't seen this one, then track down Mega Typhoon. It's up there with Xenon 2 and Swiv and any others in that area. Return of the Jedi, the third of the Star Wars films and games. This one's not quite based on the first 2 games, which are polygon shooters. This is more like an oblique view. First one, you're a speeder bike on Endor, then you're the Millennium Falcon against the Death Star, then you're a Scout Walker, and essentially you're a craft going at an oblique view. It's good. It's the best version I've actually seen so far. Black Viper. This is a racing game again. It's different to Prime Move and the others in that you must shoot stuff as well. So it's a bit like, yeah, it's a battling game going forward. Except you're on a bike going across alien worlds. It's a very, very odd story. I don't think it works quite as good, but there's a lot of emphasis for details gone in. It moves very, very fast. Different environments there. If you want a bike game where you shoot at stuff, you can't go wrong with that. Postman Pat, the music will annoy you. Listen to it. Yes, Postman Pat must deliver items to all the village folk in his van. It's quite easy to get lost, and you've got a time span to do it. Younger gamers would have loved this back in the day. Me, well, yeah, I get a little bit frustrated. But it's a cute game. Postman Pat and his black and white cat delivering stuff to the people in this village, which name I've temporarily have forgotten. Look at the review. Ferrari Formula 1. Quite a novel idea, this game, in that you control it with the mouse looking backward and forward, and you can get dizzy quite quickly. It's a bit trying to be like an early VR game, I would have thought. Yeah, and the quicker you look left and right, the tighter the corners, and it's quite easy to lose the car, but based solely on the Ferrari team. Here they go. Good stuff. Good sounds in this game too. Love it. Postman Pat 3. Now, Postman Pat 2 didn't come out on the Commodore Amiga, although all 3 did on the ZX Spectrum. This one's like a Paperboy clone, really. Instead of a Paperboy, you're in this red odd van, and you must deliver all the parcels by throwing them out the window and hitting these numbers. It's a poor game. Pinches Postman Pat as a license, but I don't think Postman Pat would have delivered parcels like this, or he would have got sacked quite quickly, and you'll be getting sacked quite quickly in this game. It's so annoying how the other cars crash into you on purpose. Alien Storm from the arcades, not as good as the Sega version. For 1 to 2 players, I think you definitely need to play it in 2 players to stand any chance here. But aliens have attacked the Earth, they're hiding under bins and stuff, and in a relentless attack you must kill them all. Some cool mini games in this where you must destroy a whole shop and fire a big laser weapon. It's okay, this one, but not great on the Commodore Amiga. There's better ones out there in this genre. Dragon Breed, this is quite a cool game, a horizontal shooter. Different to the others, you control a man riding a dragon. You can destroy enemies by firing at them or hitting them with your tail. Gets quite difficult later on, but another one of great music. You are time limited, so if you don't get to the end before that time runs out, you're dead as well, so you can't hang around. Backgrounds are quite nice, not to the level of Project X or anything, but it's very nice to see. Dragon Breed. 1000cc Turbo. This is a poor game. Music is good though, but look how much of the screen is taken up by the dashboard, and you're left with something really small up the top there. You need a big TV, or you're going to just have to squint your eyes. The bike slips around a bit. It's no Black Viper, it's no Prime Mover, it's no RVF Honda, it's no Combo Racer, and you can die by hitting these odd spots in the road, which is extremely annoying. Avoid 1000cc Turbo at all costs. The Amy Putt Classics. Now, I said there's nothing worse than that World Golf game. This doesn't aim to be good. It might be a public domain game, I'm not sure. But it's crazy golf or mini golf. You must get the ball in that hole by getting through all the obstacles using that power bar. There I am, not getting it round that red triangle thing. I forgot what the shape was called then, let me off. The Amy Putt Classics. 18 holes to get round. You have a par to keep to, but it doesn't really matter if you don't keep to it. It's all a bit of fun. Super TWINTRIS, probably the best game of Tetris you can have on the Commodore Amiga. Great music, lots of different modes for 1 to 2 players. As usual, when I played it, it was 1 player because I'm a lonely loner. And yeah, what can you say about Tetris? Move the shapes down, complete lines, and then it goes boom. So if you like Tetris and you got an Amiga and you don't know what Tetris to get, then check out Super TWINTRIS. There's TWINTRIS as well, but this is Super. Highway Hawks. Now this is a game I'm a bit ambivalent about. I know it's rubbish, but I ended up liking it. It moves fast, it looks so basic like a Homer Simpson game, but you can get quite a bit of playability from this thing. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Nick's gone mad, this looks awful, but try it out if you can track it down. Highway Hawks. This never-ending road, crash into stuff. It's the speed that makes this game, I would say. Probably a lot of people have never heard of it as we go over that bridge. Alien Syndrome, yes. You control this guy. You can choose a man or a woman, actually. You must kill all these bugs and rescue the hostages, based loosely, I would say, on Aliens without pinching the license completely. Here we are on a space station on stage 1, rescuing everyone. You must do it before the time runs out, or it's goodnight Vienna, and then you go to a next stage further in the station. That's him rescued. Plays well worth tracking down. Snakes and Ladders, I don't know if you track this one down. Occasionally I do review Snakes and Ladders or a board game, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're easy to review, maybe because I'm lazy, or maybe because I just love board games so much. They're a throwback to your memories of when you was a kid, when computers weren't, well, they're sort of about, but board games come out as well. Now they don't tend to get a look in other than Christmas, where you've got to play it to be sociable. Snakes and Ladders for up to 4 players. Up the ladder, down the snake. Chuckie Egg 2, a really poor sequel. Game works better on the ZX Spectrum, it never really worked too well on the Commodore Amiga. The problem with Chuckie Egg 2 is, I don't know who coded this, but the collision detection is really harsh. You have to be pixel perfect, like get this rat thing I'm jumping over. If you don't jump over at the right point, like right close on its nose, you will die, like there. The idea of this game is a henhouse Harry must make a recipe for a chocolate egg in the factory when we get there. Dalek Attack, there's Sylvester McCoy there, based on Doctor Who. Daleks have attacked the Earth, so it's an alien invasion. We must get off this stage, then get to London and kill all the Robo-Men, rescue all these hostages, and generally save the Earth, because that's what Doctor Who does. There's an option to play as other Doctors further along. There is a 2-player mode where you can play as the assistant also, and some right cool ender-level bosses. For Doctor Who games, this is quite good. Shading is good on the graphics. There's a lot of attention to detail, but very difficult. Now, the last game in the 50 is Sword of SODON, some of the biggest characters you could ever hope to control in a game like this. I prefer Golden Axe, but this is great fun too. Better than Moonstone, I would say. Fantasy game over different stages. You can choose to be a man or a woman. And it's a real nice game. Although it's a little bit flawed from my opinion. I'm changing my mind in this. Check out the review to receive what I really thought of it. But it's okay without being sensational. Good. Well, I hope you liked having a look at those games, 201 to 250 on the Commodore Amiga. Hopefully a lot more games to come if you want them. Please comment on the videos, because that helps me going and know that they're popular to make more videos. And until next time, take great care of yourself and are very fond. Goodbye.